Hello, everybody. How's it going? That's better. All right. Our next speaker started messing around with computers when he was 7 years old, and since then has had a soft spot for them. Every year at SuperCon, I think, he shows up with a new old computer. And this is no exception here. Last night, this was up in headquarters, and people were playing Wolfenstein on this original hardware. So without further ado, let's welcome Cprossu to talk about taking apart an old DOS game just for the heck of it.
Greetings, SuperCon. It is great to be here. This is one of my favorite conferences to attend to, and I'm glad I finally get to present here. So, a little about me. I go by Cprossu or Cpro. My actual name's Andrew. My early childhood consisted of taking a lot of things apart, making my battery toys act up, go backwards, learning how to put things back together, to the point, I wasn't leaving any extra screws or screw holes. So you know that if you don't have any extra screws or extra screw holes, you must have done something right. I got bit by the computer bug in preschool, of all things. I was fooling around with an Apple II Plus, of all things. I just had to have my own computer because I'll tell you what happened. You see, I was fooling around with Apple Basic, and I managed to get it to scroll some just random stuff on the screen. The teacher thought I had broken the computer. If you know anything about Apple IIs, that's practically impossible. They're bricks, they're tanks. Yeah, I got sat in the corner, my name written on the chalkboard. Yes, we still had chalkboards, can you believe it? And I did not get my snack that day, so I need my own computer to tinker with. Now, early 90s, a kid having their own computer, that's ludicrous. Those things cost $2,000 used, and we're not talking with a monitor. Especially where I lived over in Arizona. So, yeah, I ended up mowing lawns and doing a lot of computer work for people until I could afford to buy a computer. I went to a computer swap meet, and for $42 of my own money, picked up an IBM 5150, the original PC, green screen, 128K RAM, 360K floppy drive, clicky-clacky keyboard, and a blank disk that got too close to an IBM DOS 3.3 disk, I was told by the guy who sold me the computer. He had a whole pallet of the things. Anyway, he was willing to cut me a deal, so I was very happy. I brought this thing home, and I tore it apart, and I put it back together, and I learned about dip switches and jumpers and IRQs and memory addresses, because you had to, and I didn't have the internet. So it was trial and error, and I let out some magic smoke along the way. But eventually, I got a 42 meg MFM hard drive in it, ST251. I got 2 half-height floppy drives, so I could still have my 2. It was still 360K, though. And I put 640K of RAM in it. Wow, 640K. Could anybody use that much? But yeah, I built my first computer when I was 9. I passed my A+ when I was 13. Got it half price, but that's another story for another time. I thank my parents because they were encouraging of all my craziness. And that's why I'm here today. So now for something completely different. So first modern computer, 94, 95, we bought for $2,900 or so. A Gateway 2000, 75 megahertz Pentium with the FDiv bug, if you're familiar with that. 8 megs of RAM, a 795 meg hard drive. Yeah, we're still not a gig yet. But don't worry, that one died I think 3 days after the warranty ended. And so we bought a Maxter 1 gig to put in there. Oh, gig, wow. But yeah, so it was bundled with this game called the Lawnmower Man. And one does not simply run an MS-DOS game. You see, just getting this game to run properly, you had to really, really be careful about your config success and your autoexec.bat. Because this thing used EMS memory, not EMX, not any of the other ones, but EMS. So you had to really, really, really know where all your memory was going and configure it in such a way that it actually worked. So if you did it right, the game would work. If you did it wrong, well, good luck. Hours of fun awaited you. So this game has some features and I won't call them bugs because they're kind of built into it. So at any time, if you press escape, like, oh, I want to go to the menu, or save it, or pause it, it will simply exit the game. Any progress you have is gone. So no menu, no save, no pause, and puzzles are timed. So if you take too long, you fail. The instruction guide was very vague. It really didn't tell you what to do. You had 3 failures you could do in the game total, meaning you could die 3 times. And then it reset to the beginning. You didn't have any way of getting to any of the further levels. And if you pressed your button after game over, the continue screen comes up, 5 seconds. If you don't press a button in 5 seconds, guess what? Back to the beginning. So, yeah, it's more evil than most arcade games that take your money on purpose. I don't know why. So this game used QuickTime events before the term was coined. And of course, this is not to be confused with Apple QuickTime, which I guess has gotten mostly forgotten at this time. But it's a lot like Dragon's Lair, if you're old enough to remember Dragon's Lair, which was a Laserdisc game. And depending on your actions, it would change which video file and either show you succeeding or failing miserably and eating a lot of quarters along the way. So I think this game was way ahead of its time. And I recently learned that this thing was developed in '93, not '94. So it had full motion video and audio, really awesome music, and the story picks up from where the Lawnmower Man left off. So it's got hours of really, really interesting gameplay. So how do they do this is kind of a mystery, so I went to solve it. So first I want to just tell you, 28 years later, how did we get here? Of course, it's been 2 years since I wrote this, so 30 years later. So we got here because I couldn't get this game out of my head, even though I've never played it in a million years, even though I never beat it. It just bugged me that something could have such high quality graphics and such and be so old. Like, how did they do this on MS-DOS? I had to know. And also, I remember the music being really amazing. And I was like, I kind of want to dump the music off so I can just play it whenever I want to without having to make this whole mess of a system to do the game. So I popped up an emulator, and I really found out quickly, this game really taxes emulators. It is very not happy running, to the point where any music playing is choppy and doesn't work right. Now, things could have changed with x86MU and a few of the other newer ones. And I don't think the 486 core in MAME is powerful enough to run this without having, like an EPIC or something. But I came here for an argument, not abuse. So if you look over here, this is a list of some of the files that we have. And there's a lot of different extensions. We've got 8SX, and I was thinking, by looking at the file, I can tell that it's events, and it seems to be sound effects, like a drum loop, an animation, and I found that these are very dinky files, like they're very tiny, so they can't be video, and this is a full motion video game. BRS, it's named Screen Save. I was wondering if this thing had a built-in screensaver at this point, but who knows. LBM, and then logo, and it's a clue, because when I Googled it, I got interchange file format interleaved bitmap. No idea on what a map file is. And XL, because it's a very big video, I decided that must be the video file. SHT, I don't know why they named it that, but they did. It's an SHT file. They were named a lot like the level files, but obviously they have a few more bytes. So I pulled up an 8SX file, and in plain text it says recorded with Studio 16 from Sunrise Industries. So finally I got an idea of what might be going on here, and well, it turns out it's actually a whole solution, including an audio card for a digital audio station for the Amiga. So this thing has Amiga development in it, even though it's a DOS PC game. And if I hit over here,
access granted.
That was my first goal. I found that Deli Player could open up these files. So I was just totally amused. Like, okay, I've got somewhere, but I still want the music, right? So, what the, did I accidentally close that? No, here we go. So this file was made with a program called Deluxe Paint 5. So we know that this was used, and we find that this is actually a precursor to GIF files. So these are animated loop files, and if I go over here, we can actually see one. And I actually had to download Paint Shop Pro and use a compatibility plugin in order to get this to show. So that is one of the hacks they used to make this game. So putting the pieces together, the map file is indeed a map of where all the files are to be found. Now, it had the option to install some of them to the hard drive rather than running everything from the CD drive. So I thought, well, okay. So I looked at everything, and I found out that it does everything in order. So all of those are animations, and it tells basically the software where it needs to go for each different animation, each different NXL, and other SHT files. So what about the actual exe file itself? Well, turns out decompiling it yielded some interesting things. Now, if you just do a help command, you will not see any of this fun stuff, which is what the developers used when they were making the game, because obviously they can't just play through the entire game when they're testing a level. So they had to have a way of manually selecting them. So by decompiling it, we were able to figure out what all the switches were and what they did. And oddly enough, this is case sensitive. This is MS-DOS, and the switches are case sensitive. What kind of voodoo is this? But SHT means shot, thankfully, and not something else that you were probably thinking. So shot file makes sense in terms of cinematography and putting things together, and they very much made this game like a movie. And so once we were done with all the nonsense dealing with XMS memory and EMS memory and all that other fun stuff, and we found out that the mapping was actually for a non-US keyboard and would be activated in other regions. So neat. So trying to find some more origins, looking at more plain text, we see cdtv.device.cdtv, so I was trying to think, well, if this wasn't developed for a DOS computer, what could have it been developed for? And I found that the Commodore CD-TV might have been a platform they at least thought about a little bit. And it's kind of an Amiga 500 that's been squished together and dressed up to look like, well, any other piece of AV equipment. Now, they didn't really make these at all. This was one of Commodore's failed projects, as it were. There's a few in existence. You can find them, but they'll cost thousands of dollars. And they actually cost thousands of dollars when they were new. But yeah, it was everything that an Amiga 500 was, just made in a black case and squished together, and no expansion, really. So I kept on looking and trying to figure it out, and I found a post in a gaming magazine by a guy named Peter, who detailed that they were trying to make this a CD-TV project. Now, I have talked to some of the original developers, and they said that, no, it was not supposed to be a CD-TV project, but they were really considering releasing this on the Amiga, but they had to kind of shift over to a platform that, they could put more on, so they ended up doing some really interesting hacks to get this to work on a PC. So, I actually contacted John Casey, who was the lead programmer for this game, and I got several interesting responses back from him. And he was saying that, yeah, it was intended for an Amiga. And I was thinking that if we could take these files and figure out how they're playing, it's possible that we could even make a version of this game that would play on an Amiga 2000 quite easily, because everything is very, very close. So I was wondering if they had captured this video from like a video toaster. I do know that it was an Amiga, and I do know that it was video capture. They actually had a Laserdisc of the movie that they were pulling frames from for this game. So it was kind of interesting. So, things aren't that easy, so I figured they must have also had magneto-optical drives back then. But yeah, it's just absolutely crazy how they managed to do this. Now, I want to kind of show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. So I'm actually going to ask questions first, and then we're going to switch over to a computer demo here, actually running the game, and show you what everything looks like. So anybody have any questions first? Go ahead.
Do you have all the music extracted in?
No, it's all in different formats. Some of it's sound effects, some of it's in that studio file, and then some of it is a part of the video file that I have not been able to figure out what they encoded it in or how to decode it. So that's still up in the air. I haven't had time or people who wanted to actually dig really into the file and figure out a way to play it back. I'm sure it's possible, and I'm sure that it's probably mostly uncompressed, because compression, when you have a 46DX33, is kind of a laughable idea. Anything else? All right, so let's plug our HDMI in, and we'll get to see if this works or not. All right. So what you're looking at is actually, do we have sound too? Give me a second. Doesn't look like we have sound. Let's see. It would be coming from the HDMI.
The only sound we got coming in is this jack here. Just I don't know if you got anything.
Oh, I can do that. Give me a second. Let me make sure that we don't blast everybody's ears out. Turn this down, because this is actually able to. All right. Do we have anything? All right. So just to let you know what happens here, Job, after he takes over the entire internet, trons all of his people into his own world to play games with them. So to give you an idea of one of the crazy things about this, it's running 2 video files at the same time when it makes a game, and it's using all the DMA up of the device to do it, which means it can't pull the keyboard constantly. So you have to spam the keys if you want to do anything. So this is the first level. And again, keep in mind, this is 1993. And the Lawnmower Man is chasing us, and he's mad. This kind of blew my mind. In 1994, seeing this blew my mind.
I have other different games. I even have one that could help make you smile.
So I want to show you one other fun thing. we're actually going to fail my favorite part of the game on purpose, because I want to show you what death used to mean in video games. Killing you is just not good enough back in the 90s. So, by the way, they completely invert your controls here. Up is down, down is up because there's flight controls. You get left and right, and you have to use space to shoot. But we're going to crash here. So we're dead, right? But that's not good enough. No, that's not good enough. Yes, we're staked to the ground. Yeah, we're not done.
Lawnmower Man's in your head now. There's no escape.
So there's one life of 3. And we're going to do audio participation after this. And also to show you, we're going to hit escape. And so anybody who thinks they can get around that, you know, nope. So we did figure out how to actually pull up different parts. So the other infuriating thing about this is it had logic puzzles. So this is the audience participation part. Is everyone good with logic puzzles here? Let me turn the volume down a little bit. So the developers of this, they actually did follow the movie, and they did do things that were in spirit of the movie, but there's no way a 7-year-old kid's gonna get what's gonna come here. So this is a game, what doesn't belong. There's 4 puzzles. Each one has 4 options, up and down, and you have to pick which one of these things does not belong. So we'll see if you can beat the B-Sides crew. They got this first time through. Ready? So first one, which one does not belong? 6? All right. By the way, you don't get to find out if you're correct or not until the very end. And then they won't tell you what you got wrong. All right, what here does not belong? All right, do we have a square? All right, you sure? Okay, well, don't worry about it. All right, so what here does not belong? Yes, that one I know. And then the final one, what does not belong? That is correct. So now we get to see if the first and the second ones are correct. Because process of elimination, am I right? Good job, everybody. You did it. So can you believe it? They would put that in a game, and guess what? If you fail, different puzzle. Random each time. And it crashed. So this is a good time to end on that. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting game, and I thought it was very ahead of its time. Yeah, they might have tried to push it just a little too far, but I think the results, this could be remade today, and I kind of wish they took the plot from this and made it into the second movie. Anybody unfortunate enough to have watched the second movie knows exactly what I'm talking about. Go ahead. Oh, that's fine. All right, so anything else? Yeah. But yeah, anyone have anything else for me? All right, that's all I got.
Thanks very much.